One of the more interesting and surprising details to come out of The Rise of Skywalker was the realization that Poe Dameron used to be a spice runner. I didn't see it coming, and I know I wasn't the only one. It's hard to imagine Poe Dameron, New Republic pilot and vigilant fighter for good in the galaxy, could do something so frowned upon and something that instantly lowers your reputation. The shock that Finn and Rey display says it all about what it means to be a spice runner. Their interaction went a little something like this. You were a spice runner? You used to be a stormtrooper? A spice runner? You were a scavenger? I could do this all night. Of course, during this scene, we also meet Zorii Bliss, who is a very interesting yet underexplored character in the film. Now, most importantly, without Zorii, we would have never met Babu Frick, who is the best character in Star Wars, ever. Maybe even in the history of cinema, if I'm being so bold. The Rise of Skywalker left me wanting more of Poe's backstory, as well as more stories with Zorii. Well, if you were anything like me, Poe Dameron Free Fall is the book to get this information. And did I mention Babu Frick is in it? I mean, that makes it an incredible book already. The saying goes, everything's better with bacon. I say everything's better with Babu. Hello there. My name is Emma Park. I'm a content creator here at Youtini, and today I'm going to be reviewing Poe Dameron Free Fall by Alex Segura. This video is brought to you by Audible. As you've heard me say many times before, Star Wars audiobooks are absolutely incredible. And since we're talking about Poe Dameron Free Fall today, there's a way for you to get the audiobook version of this book for free through Youtini. That's right, it's completely free, no strings attached, and you get to keep it forever. To claim your first free Star Wars audiobook, just head to youtini.com/audible. Alright, let's dive into the review. Poe Dameron Free Fall was released on August 4th, 2020, and is Alex Segura's first Star Wars book. This book costs the typical young adult hardcover price of $17.99 US, and I got mine on Amazon using a Youtini affiliate link, which will be in the description below. This book weighs in at 384 pages long. The front cover of the book has a beautiful illustration of Poe Dameron, Zorii Bliss, a Y-wing, and a cruiser up against a gray background. The actual hardcover has the exact same art printed on it, this time with a blue background. This is very rare for Star Wars books. Normally it's just a solid color, but this time the art is on both the dust jacket and the hardcover, and that's a very nice touch. In terms of timeline, this book takes place during 18 ABY, when Poe was about 16 years old. The book begins on Poe's homeworld of Yavin 4 and shows his journey to becoming a member of the Spice Runners of Kijimi. Those are all the basics. Now let's move on to the actual review. The review team here at Youtini looks at a few key aspects of all of the books we review: plot, characters, originality, writing, and entertainment. While we aren't paid for these reviews, we do receive advanced reader copies for free. Our goal with these reviews is to be honest yet respectful because we love our Star Wars authors and we want them to keep writing Star Wars. You can always trust us here at Youtini to give you an honest review that will make your reading experience even better. Alright, let's dive into it. Let's discuss the plot first. We meet Poe Dameron when he's a young and restless kid who is longing for adventure. Like all teenagers, he is impulsive and takes his first opportunity for that adventure by becoming a pilot with the Spice Runners of Kijimi. The plot makes it very clear that what Poe is doing is wrong. He knows this, but he feels obligated to continue to serve the Spice Runners and to move on with his adventure. The way this book was written makes the reader question at all times whether he's just gonna quit and go back to Yavin 4, and that makes for a very suspenseful read. Poe meets someone his own age in the Spice Runners organization, Zorii Win. Whenever Zorii was present, the story absolutely excelled. It was clear to the reader that they were excited about a new romance and that they were trying to form a relationship despite being in complicated circumstances. The end of this book was written very much like a movie, with all of the excitement and drama of a Star Wars film. The action in this book was relatively constant, and none of the battles or confrontations felt the same. This, combined with elements of romance and a coming-of-age story, make the plot feel fresh and exciting with every flip of the page. Despite having a variable story with plenty of action, romance, and fantastic character arcs, it falls flat in Poe's frustrating decision-making, and we give the plot a 7.0 out of 10. Moving on to characters now. The characters in this book are without a doubt the highlight of it. Starting with the titular character of Poe Dameron, we see him go from bored teenager to seasoned criminal to a regretful young man. He gets a full character arc in this book, and that makes the reader feel very connected to him. The core reason for this book is to give more of a backstory to Poe, but the same could be said about Zori. She's already a seasoned criminal as a teenager, and we get to learn the reason for that. Her arc goes through plenty of twists and turns at the end, and I don't want to spoil any of that. I'm glad we got to learn more about Zori, and it really adds more depth to the Kijimi scene from The Rise of Skywalker. The secondary characters in this book really fill it out and help bring the smuggler vibe through even more. We get Ziva, the leader of the Spice Runners of Kijimi. She plays a large role in the book, particularly at the end. The leader of the cell of the Spice Runners that Zori and Poe are part of, Tommaso, isn't a prominent character, but he's very well written nonetheless. The Spice Runners antagonist in this book is Stella Troon, a New Republic Security Bureau officer. Her backstory is well developed despite not being focused on. This helps us understand why she's so motivated to take down the Spice Runners, and that was a really nice addition to the story. A handful of notable small players are Kes Dameron and Lulo Lampard. These men are instrumental in Poe's life, and that really shines through in this book. These two characters are from the comics, and their inclusion was a nice touch for fans that keep up with the EU. And of course, we can't forget to mention Babu Frick, who didn't have a large presence in the book, pun intended, but he was written to perfection. I appreciate any and all inclusions of Babu Frick in Star Wars, and this was fantastic. The characters make this book shine, and we give this section an 8.8 out of 10. Next, let's talk about originality. This type of story with the bored teenager looking for adventure isn't a new idea in Star Wars, but it's executed very well here. The action scenes felt unique in their tone, even though the scenarios weren't new. The area where this book feels completely new and fresh to me is with the double crosses. Again, double crosses are nothing new in Star Wars, but these ones felt completely out of left field. These aspects of the book, in a way, gave me Solo vibes, but the difference between Solo and Poe Dameron Free Fall for me was that I couldn't tell which character was going to turn and when the double crosses were going to happen. Like in The Rise of Skywalker, this book shows light speed skipping in action. We get to see how Poe learns this maneuver, and despite us already seeing it on screen, it still felt like a new concept. Overall, the themes in this book are nothing new, but they were so well written that they felt original in some aspects. We give the originality a 7.5 out of 10. Let's move on to writing now. Even though this is Segura's first Star Wars book, his writing makes it feel as though he's a Star Wars veteran. The most incredible aspect of his writing is the pacing. He mixes action sequences with quieter moments with ease, and no one part of the book feels too action-heavy or too quiet. The writing of the action sequences was good, but I found myself having to go back to the beginning of the sequence as I had gotten a bit lost in the action. Despite the occasional confusion, these action scenes were written with an urgent tone that made each and every fight feel absolutely thrilling. Segura's character writing was impeccable. I felt a connection to every single character, big or small, good or bad. I especially felt sympathy for Poe's situation, and his longing for adventure in particular was written very well. The writing in this book was strong, with the only weak spot being some aspects of the action sequences. We give the writing a 7.5 out of 10. Last up is entertainment. With all of the action in this book, it should come as no surprise that this was an incredibly fun read. The tension in Poe and Zori's relationship added a layer of suspense that might have been missing otherwise. The only thing that really interrupted my enjoyment of this book were some of the frustrating choices Poe made. He knew that what he was doing was wrong, but he didn't do anything to try to change his actions just because of his longing for adventure. The poor choices Poe made do feel rectified at the end, so in a way, his knowledge of his wrongdoing and the frustration that this causes the reader feel like it was done for story purposes. This story was extremely fun to read, and the entertainment value was high. We give entertainment a score of an 8.3 out of 10. Alright, that was our breakdown of Poe Dameron Free Fall by Alex Segura. Our official Youtini rating is a 7.8 out of 10, making Poe Dameron Free Fall a perfect book for any fan of the sequel trilogy or of Poe Dameron. If you want more backstory for Poe Dameron and Zori Bliss, as well as more context behind the Kijimi scenes in The Rise of Skywalker, we recommend you pick up this book using the link in the description or using our Audible trial at youtini.com/audible. As a reminder, we have a roundtable discussion on all new books around 30 days after they're released, so keep your eye on the Living Force for the roundtable discussion for Poe Dameron Free Fall. That'll do it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed our review of Poe Dameron Free Fall by Alex Segura. As always, if you'd like to help support Youtini, links to all of the books mentioned in this review today are in the description below. If you want to take a deep dive into the books, check out The Living Force, the official podcast of Youtini, or catch the live show every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Youtini_US. Visit us online at youtini.com for timelines, book profiles, and reading guides for every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. If you want to help Youtini out more directly, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Youtini. And if you need a positive group of Star Wars fans in your life, check out our Discord at youtini.com/Discord. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.